All right, everyone, welcome to the first NFL Sunday, the 2024 season. We kicked off Thursday with a little show. Now we're back into our usual airtime here. Sunday, 11 a.m. We're going to go through all of today's slate. We're going to highlight some of the bigger games of the week that we think at least grabbed our attention. If anybody in the audience has anything that they see that they like, please put it in the comments. We're always throwing the comments up on the screen here. But let's hit some headlines first. Facino, what's going on with Tyreek Hill?
Apparently nothing.
Wait a minute. First of all, before we do that, let's have our first beer of
the 2024
season. All right? Crack a little silver bullet all over this fucking computer. Good job, Matt.
It looks like you opened it up upside down.
Spilt beer on myself. Another tradition. A tradition like no other. All right, Facino, cheers. Oh, you already drank it, dickhead.
Yeah, well, you took forever. I got like this grape soda thing. It's amazing. All
right. Tell us about Tyreek Hill.
I guess he just was speeding. They let him go, and he's gonna play, which, whatever. You know what the problem is? The problem is these guys drive too fast because they have the sports cars and they want to be heroes. But the problem is, it happened with Henry Ruggs, Jordan Addison,
right,
Tyreek Hill,
the entire Georgia football team.
It's not cool, man. It actually really is really not cool. And if I was the NFL, I would suspend players for getting caught speeding over 120. If you're going over 110 miles an hour and you get caught and you get a ticket, it should be a 1-game fine. It should be just suspension for a game every time you do it. One game. You want to do it? Here, you lose $800,000. How's that? You lose $500,000 if you want to speed. It's not right. Regular people are on the streets too. And they have racetracks for that stuff. You can bring your car over there and whip it around, and you're a lot safer over there anyway. So the fact that
at least on a racetrack, you're only going to kill yourself, right?
Yeah, but you don't have the opportunity to crash. You're safer. The people around you are safer, and you don't put yourself in a situation where you could hurt yourself financially, and so like, God forbid something happens. So he's gonna play. Calais Campbell was also in that incident. It looked like, or he might have just pulled over to help him. I don't know, but they did say he was probably racing him. Maybe not, but that's what it sounded like. So.
Calais Campbell's on the Dolphins now?
No, what it looks like is Calais Campbell pulled over. Yeah, he's on the Dolphins. Looks like he pulled over to try to make, easy situation, which that's why he's a captain everywhere he goes, He's a great player. And man of the year. So they'll play.
Calais Campbell. Couple other headlines of the day. Quick one, Bill Belichick looking like he's kind of not petitioning himself, but he wants to come back to football in 2025. Is he working at CBS or something? Is he on a panel? Like, is he an analyst somewhere? I thought I saw that.
He is somewhere. He's definitely going to come back. I would like to see him come back in season for a team, like a good team that has early struggles, and then just insert him. Because the fact that some of these coaches didn't get picked up was either like maybe Pete Carroll's going to retire, but you can't tell me that Bill Belichick wouldn't do a better job on this team than Robert Saleh. Look, and I think he's a good D coordinator, Robert Saleh, but I mean, it's not even close. Bill Belichick would have been a perfect solution. Obviously, it's who knows if they even reached out to him to see what his interest would be, but holding on to inferior coaches, a lot of teams did it.
I did see him saying some very nice things about the Jets. So it looks he might be kind of like, tipping his hat there to Woody Johnson. Like,
yep.
I'm here. If you want me, I'm here. And that there's nothing he would like more than to take the Patriots down, right? Because he was fired from call it what it was. Like, the guy came out and said, I have no ambition or whatever it was to step down from this role. And then 2 days later, he steps down.
Yep.
So that was like the Patriots politely telling him to leave. And I think he took that. In fact, I think we all know Bill Belichick by this point. As quiet a guy as he is, we know the type of guy he is, and he took that personal, right? Like, and say whatever you want about maybe Brady being more important there, and that's fine. But like Belichick, if they don't have Belichick, they don't win those 5 Super Bowls. Or was it 6? Did they win 6 with him or 5?
Exactly. And people just forget about that because Brady won again, but Brady had a great team and a good coach. Still,
And
I mean,
another
Bruce Arians
fantastic
no
coach.
slouch.
Yeah.
And you know what? Todd Bowles fucking schemed up a hell of a game against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl too. So
Absolutely.
Look, whatever. It worked out for Brady. It didn't work out for Belichick, but Belichick doesn't have it. Belichick, there is no retirement date. There is no. It wasn't 1 or 2 years with the Buccaneers and I'm done. Belichick could coach a team for 5-6 more years if he wants to. I mean, Joe Paterno coached forever. I think Belichick is smart enough. Even with the Patriots last year, they were like a top 7, I think, defense, and they were the worst team in football. Give the guy Aaron Rodgers, and I think that they win the Super Bowl. Realistically, I think that's a very, very realistic outcome.
I don't think with that team right now. Maybe
with the Jets. With the Jets right now, if Belichick was the head coach,
I was talking with New England.
It would be very, very difficult for to bet against the Jets with those 2 guys, but they didn't do it.
Yeah.
So you move on.
The other thing to think about too is, does Rodgers even want to work with a Bill Belichick? Because Rodgers, I don't know. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But Rodgers is a very opinionated guy. So that's definitely something to watch as the season goes. But really, the biggest news of the day came from Friday in that Packers-Eagles game. Packers lost to the Eagles, I think 31-26, I think was the score. But the biggest part of that game was seeing Jordan Love go down. And I think everyone collectively kind of held their breath when they saw the way he went down. Now, I don't know. Did you see this? Were you watching this live?
Yeah.
I saw it, and I was like, everybody was like, oh, my God, torn ACL. And I was like, no way. That's not a torn ACL. I've seen a lot of guys tear an ACL. Yeah. That's not a torn ACL. And his facial expressions kind of after led me to believe like he'll be back in a month or 2. And that's what it is, right? It's an MCL sprain. It's 3 to 6 weeks. Now, listen, this is nothing that you can't look at lightly. 3 to 6 weeks without your starting quarterback, regardless about what you think about Jordan Love, that's still the starting quarterback. The backup there is Malik Willis, a fucking disaster. So this is going to be a really hard month and a half. And I think if you're the Green Bay Packers, you want to come out of if you could come out of this 500 by whenever Jordan Love comes back, if you could come out of this 500, that's a win.
There is a big problem though. Problem is the easiest part of their schedule is the next 4 weeks. They have Colts, Vikings, and another layup after that. So the issue is if Malik Willis in the soft part of their schedule, if he goes 1-3 or 0-4, the Packers are done.
Yeah,
it is what it is. At that point, you're playing the harder part of your schedule. It's not going to be an easy. It's not going to be easy for them. They play the Titans, I think, too, in the first 3-4 weeks. So they just get all their easy opponents. Then you got to play the Texans, the Jaguars out of the AFC South, and then you got to play. Their division they have outside of the Vikings, they're a difficult division. So they get to play the Vikings once with their starter. So it hurts. You see the Jets with Zach Wilson winning games against Josh Allen. So you can't, just give these games away.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really hard here. And,
the Lions aren't look good for you. The Packers go 0-4.
Yeah, no, definitely. But he's still got the Bears to worry about, right? The Bears find ways to give them fits. But it could get very ugly very quick in Green Bay. And I do wonder if 3 to 6 weeks seems to look like anything longer than 3 to 6 weeks. Do you see the Packers? I don't see it, but do you see them looking at a quarterback to trade for?
No, I think he'll be back in 3 weeks. I think that the problem is that they don't have a backup. Malik Willis he got the playbook in his hands a week and a half ago. He doesn't know the plays. So I don't even know.
He's also not good.
He's not very good.
He's not good.
So I don't know where they're going to go in the next few weeks. They have to play really, really sound defense. I guess the opponents that they have, give them an opportunity to play real sound defense. You just hope that that Malik Willis doesn't throw the games away. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. They've got a solid run game. If they could lean on that, And if they could play good defense, but I mean, you just and maybe you could chalk it up to being a game in Brazil and they're not comfortable. But
Now
I
you
don't know,
guys
that Packers
play.
defense didn't look good.
The Packers and the Lions don't play until November. Is their first game.
Yeah, that's the first. It's November and December. It's first week of
Yeah.
November, first week of December. So it's not going to affect. It's not going to affect anything with us.
No.
I can't imagine, right? Yeah, we see them November 3rd and then December 5th. So doesn't really affect us. He'll be back before then. But these things are tricky. They're saying 3 to 6 weeks. You got to be careful. He's a very young player. He just got signed to a very big extension. We saw what happened, and it was a different injury, but when they rushed back RG3, right, how quickly they killed his career in Washington from rushing him back from injury. So I think you got to handle this with kid gloves. You really got to make sure he's 100% before he gets back in the field. And not just that he's physically 100%, but that he mentally is ready to put weight on that knee and get back into game shape and getting hit again.
Well,
right?
listen to this gauntlet. He goes, if he misses 4 weeks, he comes back Texans, Jaguars, Lions, Bears, 49ers, Dolphins, Lions again. So it's going to be really, really hard. They didn't have an easy schedule, but it's going to be a very hard season for them.
Yeah.
It really is. And
you
they have
don't
so
the
many
liberty-
weapons.
You don't have like that liberty of like what you've got in baseball where you could just send a guy down to AAA for a couple of weeks to get his feet under him and all that shit. He's going right back into the fire. And like you said, the easiest part of their schedule is early on here in September. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough for them, and that's definitely going to be something to watch in Green Bay. We got a couple big games today. What do you want to start with here? You want to start with your boys, Jacksonville in Miami?
Yeah, I guess it's
1
going to come down to the interior offensive lines of both teams. Neither have a top interior O-line. The Jaguars have very, very strong front four at the very least, but front seven. And as far as generating pressure, they have linebackers that can get there. They got edge rushers that can get there, and they got tackles that can get there. So can they get to Tua? Can they press these receivers and give have enough time to get to the quarterback? That's the question. On the Jaguar side, offensive line just got a new center. He's an older center, Mitch Morse, next to Scherf, older guard. And can they hold up? It's the bottom line. The tackles are irrelevant, I think, in today's NFL. I'm really starting to focus on center and guard play. Are you able to, is the defensive tackle penetrate?
I would not say tackles are irrelevant.
But
Your
if I was
tackles are
building
much
a
more
team in today's NFL, I would focus on the tackles last, because I think that these quarterbacks are able to escape edge pressure a lot easier than they are able to escape interior pressure. I think that, and you watch Mahomes, like, he's got such a solid front three in the middle of that line. And it doesn't matter if the tackles get beat, because he's athletic enough to move around them, but he needs to be able to step up in order to do so. So is Trevor Lawrence going to be able to step up today? I hope so. Is Tua? I hope not. But at the end of the day, whoever's able to step up in that pocket and drive the ball downfield is going to win the game. And, that's how it would work.
Well, that's just physics, right? With, talking about inside, outside pressure. Someone's coming right at you. If that pressure is leaking through in front of you, there's physically nowhere for you to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, right? Because
that's the problem.
You're trying to read a defense. You're trying to do 1,000,001 things before that ball is snapped. And then once it's snapped, all of that is going through your head. If you're getting pressure from the center of that line, it's game over, right? Now, My question to you, that Jacksonville secondary, do we think this is an improvement of what we saw last year? Because we alluded to it Thursday. For me, that's my biggest concern in Jacksonville, right? I'm not really that concerned with your quarterback. He's fine. You have a nice receiving. You have a great offense. I don't really have concerns, particularly so much with your offense outside of, that interior, right? But the secondary, what's that going to look like? Because late in games last year, everybody and their mother passed all over that Jacksonville defense.
Yeah.
And that's what cost them. That's what cost them. I think did they get into the playoffs last year, or they missed out by?
They missed.
The season. They missed, right? And that's what cost them was that secondary. So What's
Yep.
up with that secondary? Is it any better? Are you
Well,
comfortable with it?
they had Tyson Campbell's their best player, their best corner, and he like tweaked his hamstring bad, and he just couldn't play through it last year, and he looked bad. But this year he looks a lot better. Their safety is amazing. I think Andre Cisco is a very, very good safety. And their other corner is an issue. It's Ronald Darby, and they drafted Jarian Jones. So those two players, you have to hope they'll be all right. They're actually going to have Darnell Savage in the nickel slot and probably start Antonio Johnson at the other safety position. Just like every team, I mean, they have an unknown player in their secondary with an opportunity to play well with a lot of good guys around them. But I think it's up to the defensive line to allow for a guy like Andre Cisco to have an all-pro year. But I think that's the ceiling, and I think the floor is that they just get cooked and let up 250, 300 yards a game, and it's up to Trevor Lawrence to throw them back into football games.
Right.
You know? Look, man, one injury, the problem is that you don't have depth on the edge. And if somebody goes down, you won't be generating much pressure off the edges. If you lose Josh Allen for a week or two, you're not going to be generating much pressure. There's no third guy.
Right. And that's really what the NFL is all about, right? Because once you get to this level, a lot of teams, starters, could kind of start anywhere in the league for the most part, right? What it comes down to is the players you've got, your depth behind those starters, because this is a collision sport, like we always say, right? Guys are going to go down. It's going to happen. It's that next man up mentality that we always hear about. It's such a cliche, but it's true. Like, do you have that? Did your general manager? Because to me, that's where a general manager makes his money. It's not about like, at this point, most general managers should be able to draft well, right? You should be able to find starters in the first 3 rounds. We're talking about a sport with a hard salary cap, right? So like everybody has a chance to sign free agents. It's not baseball where one team can throw an absurd check at someone and they're going to take it. It's football, right? Every team has to spend money. There's an allotted amount of money to spend, and that's that. For me, where a general manager makes his money is your backups. What does your swing tackle look like? Can your swing tackle come in for 4 games, and keep your offense afloat? Your backup guards, can they come in and play center? Right? When your center goes down, can they come in and play center for a game? Things like that. Who do you have at running back behind your starter? Okay, that's great. You got the best running back in the league. Who's behind him? Because he can't get the ball every play. Same with your secondary. And for me, that is such a hard secondary. Finding guys in the secondary is like in baseball looking for good bullpen pieces. These guys are so volatile. They're great one year, awful the next. It is such a difficult. Cornerback is physically the hardest position in football. It's these guys go from hero to zero in a season, sometimes in a half a season. So it is so hard to find those guys.
It really is. And once they're zero, you lose.
Right.
That's the biggest problem.
You will get cooked. Even the bad quarterbacks in this league will cook a bad secondary.
That's why, it's very surprising to me, with seeing how often Jalen Ramsey's getting cooked over the last, not as much last year because Fangio put him in a pretty good position to not, keep everything in front of him. But last year, playing true man press corner, he was getting cooked a lot. And then now he's the highest, paid corner. I'm very surprised. He had a hamstring injury, still has a hamstring injury. One thing I know about corners, you have a hamstring injury, you should never play. Ever. You will not play well. And you're going to go up against the guy, the fastest. Xavier Worthy was the fastest 40 time we've ever seen. Brian Thomas was the fastest player in the 40-yard dash ever. His last 20 yards, he had a higher speed than anybody to ever run the 40-yard dash. And you're telling me a 30-year-old corner with a tweaked hamstring is going to be able to stop him? I don't think he's going to be some other, I think hopefully he'll be a world beater, but I think it's going to be impossible to defend him if you're not at 100%. And he's not. So
it looks like it's 100 degrees right now in Miami. Drew Rosenhaus is on NFL Network right now talking to a reporter, and he is literally covered in sweat. You can see this guy's nipples through his shirt. Awful day to wear a white shirt. All All right.
Well, yeah.
So from
Hopefully
a
to wear a shirt when it's 100 degrees. You should be allowed to not wear a shirt.
gambling perspective
To be
here.
honest with you.
Gambling perspective. Jacksonville is plus 155 in the money line. They're giving Jacksonville 3.5, and the over-unders are 49.5. If you were a gambling man, Pacino, do you like any of those bets today in Miami?
I like the over/under. You take the over.
You take the over in Miami today?
You have to.
You think Jacksonville throws up 30 points?
Yes.
Do you think Jacksonville wins today?
Yes.
I think I'm with you. I think they do.
I think Jacksonville wins, and I think there's
I also think
60-something points scored in this game.
I think Tua sucks. I don't get this craze and hype over him. Not only does this whole team look like shit, after November, but I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see this love affair with Tua. I think this was an off-season headline, but I don't even know why they gave him that money. I think that's crazy.
Well, that's
I
what
think that's
happens
fucking
when you got these guys are like, I'll hold that. What they should have done is just drafted a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that
Couldn't
no
have
matter
been.
who, once you saw that performance, it's like, did Chad Pennington ever give the Jets a realistic chance? No.
Mm.
He was a good player, but he never really gave him a shot. So now you got a guy like Tua, good player, but do you really think that guy's going to win 4 games in January? No.
Right.
And at that point, the goalpost, look, unfortunately, the goalposts move. So if you've got a goalpost when you get drafted at, all right, make the playoffs, and then 5 years later, your goalpost is, all right, well, you've been a really good quarterback, but you can't win in the playoffs. Now, this is a huge year for him. If you can't win in the playoffs, it's another year. And then you enter, Matt Stafford with the Lions territory. Is he good? And then he's going to have to leave because that team is not going to give him 10 years, as they shouldn't. If they can't get it together, you move on. And if the quarterback, he does deserve, he'll probably deserve one more chance to start somewhere if it doesn't go well over the next 2 years. And then either he can become somebody that revitalizes his career and wins a Super Bowl like Stafford, or he can't. And honestly, he's just nothing like Stafford. I think
you saw it.
I don't see it.
You saw it in LA with Jared Goff, right? We're talking 0 to 0, right? This was a guy that helped take that team to a Super Bowl. And then whatever it was, 2 years later, the head coach basically went on TV and was like, I can't win with him. I can't win with this guy. And I believe that so much, I'm going to start John Wolf, whatever that guy's name was, in a playoff game.
Oh, and by the way, Dak Prescott just signed a $60 million a year contract.
Oh, my God. That's horrific. All right.
And that means that Micah Parsons is probably gone.
Probably. Yeah.
Because you signed CD and you signed Dak.
Yeah. Well, let's go into that game. That game's real big, and I'll tell you why. It's a 425. That's probably America's game of the week. I'm going to assume that's the Fox game. And Tom Brady's calling that game with Kevin Burkhardt.
Oh, wow. Kevin Burkhardt's good, man.
Cowboys are in Cleveland. Cleveland is a home dog, which I guess is accurate. Although I don't think the Cowboys are going to be the team that they were last year. I think they're going to regress a little. That being said, I have no faith in the Browns, and I don't think it's a terrible team. I think they've got a nice rushing attack. They've got a nice line. They have a sturdy defense. I think Deshaun Watson's fucking terrible, and I'm shocked he's still there. Everything that they have had to put up with, you probably could have cut bait this offseason.
Yeah.
And they didn't. And it's a fully guaranteed contract, but there's a lot of ways out of that contract. So I don't know. I have very little faith in the Browns today. Cowboys are plus 115 money line. If you're cooking up a parlay, I'd probably go that route. Throw them on their money line. Over under at 41.5. I don't think I'd want to touch that. The Browns will play good defense.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's a game I could see going just over at 42, 43 points. That's also a game I could see being, 17 to 10, 20 to 10 final score. And I think the running backs in Dallas is Zeke Elliott.
Yep.
And
Rico Dowdle.
Yeah.
I don't think Dalvin Cook's up to speed. Maybe he can play, but I don't think he's up to speed.
Cook went there too?
Yeah, they just signed him like last week.
Okay. So I don't know. That's the only thing I like there is taking the Cowboys to win.
They're saying that the
I think Brady's
tackles
gonna be in
are
the booth.
Stevie Mack saying the tackles for the Browns are banged up.
Oh, I forgot Stevie is a Cowboys fan. Russell Wilson officially out now.
Okay.
Yeah, that was kind of expected. Listen, if you're if you're Justin Fields, it's time to show up, right? It's time to show the Browns, the Bears, why they fucked up. And I think the Bears fucked up. I have no faith in Caleb. I know you're a big Caleb guy. We're gonna see that today. Come to think of it, who are they playing? And when are they? Oh, they're playing the Titans. They're playing the Titans. I believe that's a 1:00 game, right? I'm probably gonna have that on the main TV today. Yeah,
Well,
that's a 1:00 game, and that's Fox. That's in Chicago.
And not only did Dak Prescott get 240, he got 231 guaranteed. He got basically the whole contract guaranteed. That's actually crazy.
We have Taz here in the comments. Taz, I don't know who you are. I've been watching this channel since 2004. Can I get a shout out? Oh, that's funny. Lose asshole. That was pretty good, Taz.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Okay.
Definitely shout out to Lose Asshole.
Definitely big shout out to Lose asshole. What do we like here? Titans Bears. I didn't have this down, but
I hope the Bears cream them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Titans are so old. They're exactly what you don't want to do building a franchise, especially with a young coach. But they went super old in the receiving core, I guess, to try to like create something, some sort of. Will Levis needs help, but I think he needs more help intellectually than he does arm strength wise. So I think they brought in some veteran receivers.
I also don't think Will Levis is that good.
I don't either. So I think it'll be a bad season for them. I also think Tony Pollard we'll see. I mean, he looked bad last year. And then Tajay Spears is probably their best player, playmaking wise. So they'll probably use him a lot. And then they have the most overrated tight end in the league. So defensively, they have Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons, amazing. Their secondary could probably use a little bit of work. Linebackers, a little bit of work. And the Bears are a team of destiny this year, anointed by the media. So either the Bears, show up today, or they're frauds. And I think they'll show up.
It's the Hard Knocks effect.
They'll be there. They'll be all right.
I have no faith in Eberflus. I think I think they probably should have cut bait with him when they were getting rid of everybody. Like the decision to draft Caleb, listen, that's just my opinion, right? Like I don't like Caleb. I don't really love what he did at USC, but that's my opinion. The physical ability is there. The arm is there. Everything is there to be a great quarterback, right? So at this point, it's just my opinion, but I think Eberflus is the wrong guy. I think if this thing goes south quick in Chicago, I think he's gone before Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you're talking.
It could be
a lot of money invested into that receiving core, a lot of money invested into that defense, and draft capital invested into your quarterback, and right after that, getting that quarterback a top flight wide receiver in Rome Odunze, right? This guy was fantastic in Washington. So
yeah,
if Eberflus can't be 500 by Thanksgiving, he's probably gone.
Yeah, well, talk about first round quarterbacks. You have the first round pick, and you have a good team, and you probably should have been fired already. So I see it. But other first round quarterbacks, I'll tell you what we got robbed of. We got robbed of Michael Penix this week. He should, if he didn't go to the Falcons, he was definitely a Viking or a Bronco, and we would be seeing him week 1, and it would have been exciting. But we didn't see that, so we're only getting Caleb and Bo, I think, right? There's only 2, and Jaden. So we're getting 3 rookies off the bat.
You're talking about Titans Bears still. You threw me off Michael.
I'm just talking about the rookie quarterbacks. But there's only 3 playing.
Right.
So Caleb is the best. It's weird because he is in the best situation of all of those guys. So, even though you're the number 1 overall pick, I would say you better show up this year, which is it's unfair. It actually is an unfair thing.
But it's the NFL. This is the NFL, right?
Exactly.
And nothing about the NFL is fair.
No.
Right? Almost it only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
if you start, you must win. Doesn't matter where you were picked.
Absolutely. And I think if you're Caleb Williams, like I think the litmus test is and it's unfair to him, but it's kind of this year, right? And like, okay, his head coach sucks, but there's a lot of good pieces around him. Like we just said, there was a lot of money, a lot of draft capital invested in him, and if he doesn't show, and I'm not saying Caleb he could lead the league in interceptions this year, and that wouldn't make him a bad quarterback, in my opinion, as a rookie, right? Rookies are going to turn the ball over. That's unless you're CJ Stroud, like rookies are just going to turn the ball over. That's what they do. We forget Peyton Manning had like 22 interceptions his rookie year, right? So if you're Caleb, it's not even so much about winning games there. I think it's more so about showing the ability, showing that you're the guy, right? That you were clearly better than McCarthy, that you were better than Penix, you were better than all of these guys. Because if any of these guys, and unfortunately, like you said, we're not really going to see, unless Kirk goes down, we're probably not going to see Penix this year, and we're probably not going to see JJ McCarthy this year. But things can get very ugly very quickly in a city like Chicago. I mean, Chicago's media market is very similar to New York, where if you're not winning, they're going to let you hear it, and they're going to let you hear it immediately. It is a loud, disgruntled fan base that's had nothing to really root for since 2010. I mean, they had that year in 2018 with Khalil Mack. Outside of that, they've had nothing there. And it's a passionate fan base. So if you're Caleb Williams, it's time to nut up. It's time to fucking nut up and win some games for Chicago this year. And at a minimum, I think if you're Chicago and you end this season 9-8, and Caleb looks good, then I think it was a success. Honestly, I really do. Chicago should make the playoffs. They don't have to for this to look good, in my opinion.
Nah.
Right? But if they're another 6-win team and Caleb doesn't look that good, then things are gonna catch fire very quickly in Chicago.
Yeah.
And it starts with today. The Titans are a very beatable team. I still cannot really understand how Mike Vrabel was fired there, essentially. I mean, let go, fired, whatever you want to put it. He's a guy that should still be there. I think he's a tremendous head coach. I think he made chicken soup out of chicken shit every week with Ryan Tannehill. I mean, it helped that he had Derrick Henry behind him, but how many coaches could win with Ryan Tannehill?
Maybe 5%. He did a good job. Look,
he did a fantastic job in Tennessee. I loved him.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not the Titans' day today, so who's
what's
up
game
next?
I have here, I have Texans Colts. I think this, in my opinion, will be one of the games of the week. I'm obviously looking at Rams and Lions. That's a bias for me, but outside of that, the most interesting game to me is Texans Colts. Can CJ Stroud show us that it wasn't just a flash in the pan? That this is who he is, and I believe that this is who he is. I think he's fantastic. I think CJ Stroud is going to be a top 5 quarterback in the league this year, because he certainly was last year by any metric. Colts, we're going to see Anthony Richardson.
Yep.
I just pray this guy could stay on the field. I love him. I love him. I love his athleticism. I love his mentality. He's got to tone it down just a little, leaving the pocket and running and taking on those hits.
He's got a fantastic play caller. So I think that play calling, if you have a top 5 play caller, you could win any game. So the Colts moving the ball with Anthony Richardson, the reason that they're successful is because they're burning time. They're burning, minutes on the field. So I would much rather win a game the way that the Colts would like to win a game than the Texans, because the Texans are going to air it out this year. Right. I think they're going to absolutely air it out, which is fine. But, if you have a few 3-and-outs or whatever, you don't burn a lot of time off the clock, and Anthony Richardson comes out, methodically moves the ball down the field with, the extension of the run game, West Coast offense, predetermined passes, which is pretty much how he's going to function this year.
A very good receiving core.
I would say ridiculous.
Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell.
Yeah, but
that's a damn good receiving core.
The Colts have almost an as good receiving core, too. They have Michael Pittman and Adonai Mitchell and Josh Downs, who's not playing, but Adonai Mitchell is he's like the George Pickens of this draft. He just should have went higher athletically. Given a good quarterback, he'll be able to put stats up. So I think anybody could win this game. It's week 1. You're still knocking the rust off anyway. So I would say who's home? I think the Colts are home.
Colts are home. You're going to take the Colts here?
Colts haven't won week 1 in like 15 years. It's like some crazy bad voodoo that they have going on over there. But I would probably take the Colts today. Texans are so highly anticipated that one of these teams has to falter, and I don't like the Texans, so I'm going to pick the Texans to falter.
Okay.
Biased.
You're banking on the Texans getting some early losses here to help the Jags out.
I also think that they built a very quality football team, but it's the NFL, and parading and believing is different from performing. So they might get look. People are planning against the Texans right now. The Texans, nobody gave a shit about the Texans last year. They saw that they were a decent up and coming team, but like you're not circling the Texans last year. No. Teams may be circling this team. So let's see what happens, because I've seen Jaguars teams have great seasons, and then the following season they shit the bed. Why? Because there's more attention on you. So we'll see how they're able to handle that, and I think they'll be fine. But it's not going to be as easy as we think.
It's one thing being that team that no one has any expectations for, that's playing at 1:00 every week. That, you know, rookie head coach, rookie quarterback, like it's not that it's easy to excel when you're in that role, but there's less eyes on you, right? Nobody was paying attention to the Texans probably until like mid-November last year. That's when people really started to take them serious. So, you know, when you're the team that's now not the underdog on the betting line every week and getting those primetime games, it's different. It's certainly different, right? I mean, for me, and it's a bias, but I bring things back to Detroit and the Lions, but it's like the way that the 2022 Lions ended their season strong, beating the Packers, knocking them out of that playoff spot. The way people looked at them going into 2023 was like, okay, this is the year, right? Like you guys talked you talked your game, you got Hard Knocks, you know, you ended the season strong, you almost made the playoffs. Like now it's time to show something. And, you know, by God, like I think by the end of September last year, people were like, nope, this team's for real. They are here. They're here to fucking play. And they showed it, right? They won 12 games in the regular season. They made it all the way to the NFC Championship. And they're in, that was the position that they were in last year. And now it's a continued kind of same expectations, right? It's the same, like this is a team that people are picking and rightly so to go to the Super Bowl. Right? Like I was in Lowe's this morning and I'm picking up some tiles and some stuff for my contractor upstairs, and I'm walking around in an Aiden Hutchinson jersey, and you know, people are like, oh, okay, yeah, you know, big day for the Lions, big season for the Lions, this, that. Like there's no more embarrassment that comes with walking around in a Lions jersey at Lowe's at 9:00 in the morning on a Sunday. People take them serious, but they've got to do it. They've got to do it this year, and they're really like starting out with a bang, right? This isn't college football where you get to schedule, USF on the first Saturday of the year to kind of get your bearings under you. It's the NFL. The schedule makers are making the schedule. It ain't the teams. And right away, we're playing the Rams. Matthew Stafford coming back to Detroit. He came back last year, and it was definitely it was awkward kind of leading up to it. And the Lions ultimately won. They won that playoff game, the first playoff game in 32 years. But you could bet your bottom dollar Matt Stafford is looking for some redemption here in front of his home crowd. He wants to shut these guys up. And the season feels a little different when you're starting 1-0 as opposed to 0-1. So,
well, I'll tell you who's not going to be at the game.
Kelly Stafford.
Yeah, why? Like, it's so stupid, man. Like, I get it, you love your husband, but like, what do you expect?
Yeah.
What do they expect? A team that's never won, had a guy that didn't win, and then won somewhere else, and then came back. I don't know. Like, you could be like supporting him, or you could boo him, and it's your decision. And it's fine that it's her decision to not go to the game, but it's selfish. Because now your kids and you are not going to go see their dad play a finite amount of games. Maybe he plays 2 more seasons, right? Because you don't like the people there that gave this guy all the love and respect in the world for the last 15 years and booed him on his return because he cheated on him. It is so stupid.
Also, though, like who? And this isn't a shot at you, but like, who the fuck gives a shit? Why was this even a headline? Why did it appear on my timeline on
It
Twitter?
shouldn't have.
Why is it a talking point on
It shouldn't
shows?
be.
Why? It's a player's wife. Who gives a fuck?
Because
Right
you
now-
know what, though? Because you know what? The wives go to every game. They follow and they go. Like, I think 90% of these guys' wives go, and if they can't go, it's because they have something to do. So when you have nothing to do and you're not going because you don't like people, is like, dude, your husband's playing. Like, he could get hurt. Like, you want to be there. It's like like, it's important that you be there. God forbid something happens to him. He could break his ankle, and wouldn't you want to be on the field next to him? But you don't, because you don't like the people that are there.
Yeah.
Your husband is there.
And
So anyway, we shouldn't even talk about it
we
anymore.
should.
It's her
We're giving it
decision,
too
but
much. We're giving it way too much airtime.
I
here.
think it's so dumb. Yeah, well, that's what gets airtime, the stupid shit, right?
we're the
We
assholes.
didn't even
that-
talk about David Njoku.
hook, line, and
It's
sinker.
unbelievable. I forgot. We passed over the Cowboys and Browns, and the X factor of that game is David Njoku. Now we can move on.
Well, wait.
Who's
Before
the
we move
next
on,
game?
before we move on from Rams and Lions, that over/unders. That's, by the way, that's Sunday Night Football, 8:20 NBC. 4.5 point spread. They're giving the Rams 4.5 here. And like I said, over/unders at 52.5. The only thing I feel comfortable taking here is maybe the over. I don't know out of the gate how good the Lions defense is going to be. I have faith in the Lions defense this year. I think week 1, Matt Stafford, healthy. He's going to throw the ball like a lot. And I think it's going to be high score. That's the only thing I would feel comfortable with is probably taking the over here. This game could truly go either way. I think the Lions are going to win. I'm getting nervous right now just talking about it. But I'm going to take the Lions, and I'd take the over. Now, I'm not offended here, Facino. You want to take the Rams? I get it.
I would take
But-
the Lions today. They have a lot. They have a lot to prove. And plus, Matt Stafford's wife's not going to be there. He's not going to She's not going to have as much support.
One less person in the stadium rooting for him.
Yeah.
Cowboys, Browns. David Njoku's the X factor.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. David Njoku with this cool, he's just in a really good spot, man. He's going to catch, he's getting wide receiver screens galore.
Yeah.
He's going to be a featured target over the middle, and he's a big body. They were putting a lot of game plans around him last year. Very, very behind closed doors. He was coming out and getting 10, 12, 14 targets. A few times last year. I think 3 times he got over 14 targets in a game. So he's definitely somebody to at least monitor. And if you don't, he's going to burn you. So I would put Njoku down as a guy that could probably score a touchdown, go for 50 yards, and maybe be a difference maker in the game.
So that would be your player prop of the week here. You'd want to put some marbles on David Njoku having a day for himself.
Yeah, I would. And also I think Deshaun Watson understands that he needs to utilize him. You can't you don't want to throw it deep every play. Amari Cooper will be there, Judy's there, but your security blanket there is Njoku. People will see. It's very similar to Isaiah Likely.
We are not going to be live tomorrow, but tomorrow the Jets and 49ers are playing each other. That's going to be in San Francisco. They are giving the Jets 4.5. They're setting the over-under at 43.5. I never like taking overs in Monday Night Football games at all. This is a game I think I feel a little more comfortable taking the over.
Yeah, I think, the Jets are probably going to score 40 points.
You're
And
taking
then-
the Jets tomorrow.
I think they're going to beat the piss out of them. I think that regardless of talent, the Jets circled this game a year ago. The 49ers just found out about this game 4 months ago. It didn't matter who the opponent was for this game.
Right.
This is to fucking right the wrongs of last year that the universe gave them. It's so much bigger than the opponent. It's bigger than a football game. This is the dream. The dream comes back alive for these guys. You have a locker room that was stuck with Zach Wilson for 2 to 3 years. You got players that completely embraced and welcomed the new mindset with Aaron Rodgers. You still have the legendary quarterback. It was all taken from you, and everybody circled this game. After everything that they went through last year, staying together, getting the guy back, he's more determined than ever. And when you have an ego, it could be a bad thing or it can be a good thing. Because when you're an egomaniac and you want to prove people wrong, you will prove people wrong. Tom Brady did it when he got suspended with Deflategate, came back through 28 touchdowns and 2 picks. Right. Aaron Rodgers might come back this year and absolutely dominate. And I think the Jets defense is gonna be a symbiotic relationship here where the Jets are gonna feed off of him and he's gonna feed off of their defense. And I think it's gonna be poetry in motion. And it's gonna be at the 49ers' expense week 1. So that's what I think. But you probably don't agree with me because Vegas doesn't agree with me and the world won't. But it's bigger than that.
Listen,
I think it's bigger than that.
I'm not anti-Jets. I have my worries about Aaron Rodgers, and that's my own thing. I don't think San Francisco is going to be this great team that they were last year. I think that there's going to be some regression there. And do I have a great reason for it? No. Other than the fact that, I don't totally believe in Brock Purdy. He's done some really nice things, and he's a quality starter in the NFL. I won't take that away from him. To be the last pick in the draft and to get to this point, more power to you. My only issue is I think that when the game falls on his shoulders and they look at Brock to win, Brock can't do it. I think just thinking back to the last football game he played in, the Super Bowl, this was not the best version of the Chiefs by any means for the first 3 quarters of that game. And Brock just could not elevate this team. He couldn't take them there, right? They look at guys like Debo. They look at guys like CMC to kind of get them there. But when you just leave it on Brock, he falls short. That's my opinion of him.
Yeah.
So I think things are gonna and the fact that we had all of those rumors going around last year that they were gonna go after Kirk Cousins. If they really believed in Brock Purdy, that wouldn't be a rumor, right? You didn't hear about that rumor with the Lions going into that game. Right?
No.
That, Jared's on the end of his contract. Oh, maybe the Lions are going to go after Kirk Cousins, or maybe they're going to draft a quarterback. You didn't hear that, right? Because they have belief. They love Jared. They believe in Jared. I just don't think that this 49ers organization really believes in Purdy. I think they look at him as it's a low-cost contract, and we could build around him, and maybe that'll be enough. And ultimately, I just don't think it's going to be enough. I think the NFC West is a better division than it was last year. And I think the Niners are going to have a tough time. I wouldn't be shocked if the Niners, I think they'll be in the playoffs, but I think they're a wild card team this year. I think the Rams could take that division.
You think Brock Purdy could get Jared Goff?
What,
exiled? Get dumped for a first-round pick?
If
they get to the championship game and they can't win, then they might.
Yeah.
It happens. Yeah. I've seen it. So
it absolutely does.
Yeah. Fantasy-wise, I'd say for that game, I would take Garrett Wilson, if you could in those FanDuel leagues where you could just pick a team. But that's probably that. Mike Williams might bring a lot of return on your investment there too.
Facino, I got about 18% left on the laptop, and I gotta run back out to Lowe's to get more stuff for my contractor before these games start. Do we have anything else here before these games start?
Yeah, I got a question for you.
Yes.
I got Cortland Sutton, Khalil Shakir, or Ladd McConkey, or J.K. Dobbins.
On fantasy?
Yeah.
You're looking for what, a flex spot?
I have 2 flexes I could start. 2 of McConkey, Dobbins, Sutton, or Shakir.
What's second? What are they going up against?
McConkey against the Raiders. J.K. Dobbins is the Raiders. And Shakir's Arizona. Cortland Sutton, Seattle.
I think I would start anyone going against the Raiders defense today.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
So take out Cortland Sutton up against Seattle.
Let me see here.
I know whoever I bench is going to have a big game.
What time is Seattle playing? Are they 4 o'clock? Oh, they're Denver.
Yeah. I actually have all day to make this decision because I'm definitely going to play Shakir. So I have 405 to start one of McConkey, Dobbins, or Sutton.
I would lean anyone that's playing the Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to have a bad defense again.
Yeah, but they have
It's Max Crosby,
Christian
and
Wilkins and Christian Wilkins now.
They lost to Meek Robertson to the Lions. I don't know. I'm not a fantasy guy anymore. I'm the wrong guy to ask.
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's fucking complete gambling. How do you know? Who the fuck knows? It's crazy. Anyway, all right. Let's see. Go Jags.
We will see you all possibly Thursday. So thank you all for tuning in. Enjoy the games today. Go Lions.
Peace.